So today's first panel is New Ways of Relating to the World. And we have a number of speakers this morning. We're starting off with Leilani Sevilla, who is talking about Hawaiian language and culture and how technology is enabling preservation of indigenous languages. Leilani in 2008 was a commencement speaker, giving a speech called Sights and Worth Redefined. After receiving her master's, she went she did her undergraduate here in 2009 and then did a master's of education from Northeastern in 2014. And after receiving her master's, she went on to become a special education teacher in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Lawrence, Massachusetts, through the Teach for America program, which is a volunteer program. It's a wonderful program. It is not an easy program. She currently works as an advocate for Indigenous language and culture revitalization and survivors of gender and race case discrimination and violence. She and her friends are also in the process of starting a nonprofit to help Filipino Americans in the Philippines escape the sex trade industry through alternative education and livelihood workshop initiatives. In the words of Tupac Shakur, she doesn't think she's going to change the world, but guarantees she will spark the mind that will change the world. And with that, I give you Leilani.
Kind of nervous, especially after Dean's talk. Tough act to follow. O nauna I kahala mikalehua o halelehua no ianaka noe. Aloha e, aloha e. O Leilani ko o inoa. And contrary to history books, news articles, and documentaries, I'm still here. I am not an artifact at Bishop Museum or Iolani Palace. And my voice, my language, is not on the verge of extinction. As a proud child of Hawai'i ne, it is with the spirit of aloha that I confide in you, my allies. E ola ka Olelo Hawai'i, the Hawaiian language shall live. Okay, so what is language? Why does it matter? So language is described as a method of human connection that can be unique to a particular culture or a country. It is also described as a manner of writing or speech. But it's so much more than that. Language bears testament to the history of those who came before you. Because of language, people have died and have been persecuted, but people have also thrived, survived. So in that case, language represents a deeper or hidden meaning. Kaona. Te Olelo Hawai'i. My favorite word, kaona, means hidden or deeper meaning. To speak fluent Hawaiian, you don't just have to have a large vocabulary. You have to understand the history of the people. You have to understand the people itself. Take one of my favorite Hawaiian words as well, butterfly, polelehua. In English, does it really make sense? Does a butter fly? But in Hawaiian, it's pulelehua. Pule is prayer, and lehua is a type of flower. So to use kaona, or deeper or hidden meaning, a butterfly is the prayer of a flower to live on past its lifetime, past its life cycle. So let me talk about language, back to language. So the Hawaiian language was abolished. In 1896, they told us you cannot speak Hawaiian anymore. English is the language of your country. You're no longer a kingdom. And you know what? There are a lot of people who are angry about this. I encounter a lot of elders, kupuna in the Native community, who tell me, you can't trust the white people. You can't trust technology. They're destructive. Well, I understand my history, and I respect what my people have been through. But at the same time, you know what? The effects of the ban are far-reaching even after many generations. And currently, there are fewer than 10,000 speakers of the language. So that is a big loss that should neither be forgotten or ignored. However, I'm going to focus on the now and on the future, because to get stuck in the past, to be consumed by hatred, that does nothing. That, in effect, is going with two simultaneous monologues rather than a genuine dialogue. In order to revitalize, we need to have a genuine dialogue. The Hawaiian people are, subjected to victimization and still are. But there is so much more to my land, my people, my culture, my language than loss. So, as Chimamanda Adichie said, we must beware the danger of the single story. To define Hawaiian history solely through the lens of annexation of the kingdom and the suppression of its language is to render us as perpetual victims, and we are not. I am still here, so I still exist. So what then comes after death or destruction or revitalization? I say hope, life. And I must say that my path to language revitalization actually started here at the Extension School, not in Hawaii. Harvard Hall, room 202, Stephen Mitchell's class, folklore. We had to collect stories from our land, and I, of course, did Hawaiian stories, and that made me more interested in it personally, more than just academically. So I continued doing that, and I spoke to elders, and I started asking them questions like, why would you say ku'ule rather than ku'ipo? And so that's how I started asking, how can technology bridge the gap? And that is how we found some friends, allies. So, technology. Ahapunanaleo. Ahapunanaleo means a nest of languages, and it's an umbrella organization that works to perpetuate the language and culture of Hawaii through educational and cultural-based initiatives. So there are different programs under Ahapunanaleo because you know what? One size does not fit all, and you have to be inclusive. So the first one is the Hiepepe infant program. So what it does is it's designed to support parents of kids who are babies 9 months to 3 years old. And what they do is to plant the seed, which brings us to our own cartoons. Okay, so when I was a kid, I was always so sad that Disney princesses didn't look like me. Okay, because I'm a meatball. Why aren't there any meatballs? And so this is such a powerful thing to have cartoons speaking Hawaiian who look like meatballs, like me. And also this is one of my favorites, Uluka'u. It's a library, electronic library. So you can find everything here, from recipes to children's picture books. It's all in Hawaiian. And because we are in a digital age, we can use our Nooks, our Kindles, our smartphones to do so. And Niuhaliki. So this is actually another one of my favorite courses. For those people who are far from the Aina, you need to have courses that are designed to fit you. So this is actually a program, I would describe it as the love child of Blackboard learning systems and Rosetta Stone. So it's user-friendly, self-paced, convenient, and affordable. 25 chapters, and its cost per module is $30, so it's affordable. Oh, sorry. So this is Hawaiian TV. Its mission is to leverage the power of media to create meaningful impacts and experiences for Native Hawaiians. So it's Hawaiian language TV. We're running out of time, so I'm just going to briefly show you this. Social media, we're all there. Pinterest, by the way, is not just for pinning recipes and whatnot. It's actually for, I'm just gonna briefly show you. So Olelo of the day on Twitter. You can say, all I want for Christmas is you in Hawaiian, and then Hawaiian proverbs. This. And this. So YouTube. So technology is a revolution. It is a megaphone, it is a voice. And although our revolution in 1896 was not televised, I can guarantee you that this revitalization will go viral in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Kauna means hidden meaning. It's a love poem to Hawaii and to the Hawaiian language.
Our language survived through the passing of flowers. In 1896, the last reigning monarch of Hawaii, Queen Leilani, was held prisoner in her own palace.
Communication with the outside world was prohibited.
Thus, newspapers were snuck into her room, wrapped around flowers.
For months, the queen and her people wrote songs and stories hidden in Hawaiian.
So as to converse without the overthrow and provisional government knowing. It is because of this we know our history. The language of hidden meanings, kauna. The first written Hawaiian poetry.
Songs and dance were the medium which we decoded their denotation.
The language of commonality was no longer an option, so our old traditions evolved, else our words would die. The ones we promised to die for weren't surviving, so we sent our stories, wrapped our children in blankets of words, hoping they would honor their meanings. And with every word lost,
lose a piece of ourselves.
With every story forgot, lose a piece of our history. It's time to uncover the past and understand our future.
Interpret our stories to better know ourselves.
So listen to me.
So listen to me.
Listen to me. Existence persists as long as we have language. If we cannot communicate with each other, we cannot survive.
He mana ko ka leo, a ina o he leo, a o he ola.
Without language, we have nothing. We must see to it that our language survives like the past through flowers. Ua ola ka olelo mai ka pai kuana o nā pua. E hiki nā pua e ola, mai ka pai kuana o ka olelo. So our children can survive through the passing of language.
Let's give everybody... So we're now going to do a couple of minutes of Q&A for this wonderful presentation. So with that, I open the floor. Questions?
Yes?
Well, I talked to you a little bit before. You come from one of my very favorite places on earth. And I'm so happy that when I go back, I just came back 2 weeks ago from Hawaii, from Kauai. But I'm glad to see the language is growing and they're using it more and more in everything, even for those of us who are not native Hawaiians. And but I'm also thinking, before people go to Hawaii, as for any language, it's good to learn, and I wasn't quick enough to be able to see what do you recommend as a place to look to perhaps learn some of the language before going.
I would, as weird as this sounds, Twitter or Facebook, because there you will see the everyday Hawaiian, not just like the proverbs. I noticed that like if you refer to books, yeah, ohana means family, like aloha. But another, like, in addition to like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and whatnot, I would highly suggest just like Googling like aloha greetings or like Hawaiian greetings. It's as easy as that. So, any more questions? Yes, sir?
Hi. By the way, I'm Teach for America too. So.
Ah,
yeah.
T-Fam.
That's right. I was wondering, so it's kind of two questions. The first one is, are you satisfied with how social media is preserving the language? And second question, what's your vision for how you would like the language to be preserved and further cultivated politically and even academically?
Well, I would say that I'm satisfied with the way that social media has been an advocate, I should say, for like the revitalization of our language. And that actually piggybacks on the next question. Where do I see it? Social media it's the great equalizer. It's free for everyone, social media. And what I do see is Hawaiian language not being preserved, because that would mean that the language is encased in amber. I want it to grow. I want it to evolve into something more inclusive to everyone. I don't, like, traditional Hawaiian language is very, like, steeped in kaon and hidden meaning. And I want it to be more easily understood. I don't want it to be bastardized, but I kind of want it to fit the modern times. So, and yeah, so any more questions? Oh, yes, ma'am?
At one time, did the Hawaiian language have its own script?
Yes.
Instead of using...
Yes, hieroglyphics and whatnot. So it is a written language. There is a misconception that it is not a written language, that it's not valid. That's kind of like one of the things that kind of I run into in terms of revitalization. It's not a real language. It's like a spoken oral tradition language, but it is. And that is why it is valid academically. A lot of people say, oh yes, like you don't have quills and whatnot, so it's not, you shouldn't study it academically. You should just pursue it like personally, but that is so not the case. So more questions? Oh, thank you.